All right, we're going to get started, folks. Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law. I wish to state that on April the 25th, 2014, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township bulletin board, mailed with the Committe County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded and up until closed session, and will be available on UTTV channel 97 on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr? Here. Mr. Coggins? Mr. Sarah?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Plumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. Would someone like to make an approval of the minutes for both the regular session and the closed session from April 14th?
Motion to approve minutes.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Okay, hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay. So, I think we need to make an announcement. There is on the agenda a presentation congratulating the Upper Township Girls Varsity Basketball team. Unfortunately, we are going to present them tonight, but because of the upcoming weather situations, there's been rescheduled lacrosse practice tonight, soccer practice. The girls some have CCD because there's upcoming confirmation. So, to make a long story short, the girls were very in conflict, especially those that are 8th graders. So, we will delay that and probably re-agendize the presentation maybe in the June meeting, first June meeting. By then, maybe all the activities will have somewhat subsided. So, with that announcement, let's move on to the report of the governing body members. So, Barbara, do you have anything for us tonight?
I just have one item. I'd like to invite everyone to attend our Day of Prayer on Thursday, this Thursday, May 1st, at 10 a.m. here at the Municipal Building. We will be holding that. And that's all I have this evening, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Daniel?
Nothing at this time, but we do have a number of items for closed session, a couple contract negotiations, a couple litigation, personnel, and a safety and security issue.
Okay. Paul?
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Oh, moving right along. Barbara?
Nothing this evening either, Mr. Mayor.
Really moving right along. Mr. Coggins?
We will be voting to authorize to release the balance of a cash bond into our general fund account for a surety bond from the Richmond Group that had been involved with the Seaville plantation situation a number of years ago. That's the biggest thing we have on the issue.
Okay. Mr. Young?
Recreation-wise, we're working on the 4th of July celebration. I'm waiting to hear back from Priscilla Yank about pony rides for the kids, and we're also looking at possibly having a bouncing set up for the kids. Also, I talked to some of the recreation programs at the last rec board meeting. We're going to try to coordinate with all the programs to run the refreshment stand. And all the monies that we make at that refreshment stand this year will be donated to the Challenger program for the handicapped kids that we have in the township.
Very nice.
So, hopefully it's the beginning of a good thing every year. I'm looking for volunteers, and we've had a couple step up to help organize it. We can't have 20 people running, I need one. And we had the 2 bands set up. It'll be the KYB band, Kenny Young Band, who's my cousin, just released the 2nd CD, and then another local band, the Shifter Brothers. They're given by D Suspended. They're all from the township. Both bands have volunteered their time, so it makes it kind of nice. All we have to do is pay for the sound system. The only other thing I have is Upper Township Lacrosse has put in an application for their end of the year tournament. It's scheduled tentatively for May 17th. It'll be an all-day tournament at Amanda's Field, and it'll be roughly 800 people. It is a program that's sanctioned by the township, so they don't require township committee approval, but I just want to make everybody aware that that is going on. We have quite a few things coming up in Amanda's Field right now, with the Tour de Tuckahoe will be coming up there. We have a few more football games coming up, and everything's looking pretty good out there. I've met with Paul, with Dwayne, to try to get it organized as far as getting started on Amanda's Field, getting our basic things ordered as far as the fencing, infield mix, things like that. We're also working on the lights to get a set price on the light system for us, so we'll know what's going on. Other than that, I think that's about it, Rich.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. and Sarah?
Just a couple things. One, what to advise the residents is to the placement of the trash and trash cans. It seems that at times it's just putting trash cans loose. They need to put the trash in bags so it eliminates the hazardous conditions. One of our guys got hurt last week. There was some kind of substance in one of the trash cans. When it was dumped, unfortunately, it spread all over the truck inside the cab and he had to go to the hospital. So we're advising residents to put the trash cans in bags before they go into the trash cans. The items that are prohibited going in the cars, they are the art ashes, coal, hazardous waste, concrete, rocks, and large pieces of metal. That should be definitely not going to the trash cans. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Other than the gas line for our generator, the tunnel, I worked on it today, it's almost completed. Local right now, city center, so that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Barr?
Attended the Tuckahoe Volunteer Fire Department's open house on Saturday. It was a success. They had quite a few citizens out there, and Chief took everybody around, showed them the fire operations, and I think it was a good day had by all. Other than that, that's why I have report, sir.
Okay, and I just have a few things quickly. On Thursday, this coming Thursday at 10 a.m., the township will be involved with the day of prayer. That is something that we had a resolution to address that. It's something that the township has been doing for a number of years. It was started back by President Reagan, and it's certainly something that goes hand in hand with really the residents that there's a number of different denominations of different religions throughout the township, and it's certainly something that we will participate in, and that's this Thursday at 10 a.m. It will be right here at the Township Hall. The other thing is that tomorrow we'll be meeting with Dennis Township to discuss our ongoing shared service agreement with the court system, and we have a number of meetings scheduled this week. There's an OAM meeting. There's a few other meetings scheduled this week to go over some staff issues and those kind of things, so we'll certainly keep you guys informed with everything that comes from the outcome. So we also hope that we can set up a meeting to further talk about expansion of shared services potentially with Dennis as well, although tomorrow's meeting is specifically to discuss our ongoing shared service agreement with the court system. So that's all I have. I think, as I said earlier, the presentation will be tabled until a future meeting, so we'll move on to the resolutions. Barbara, if you would.
Before you do that, Hobie had mentioned there's I guess the lacrosse program is having a tournament, and how many participants are going to be in that?
They're projecting up to 800.
Okay, and when was that supposed to be?
Maybe 17th.
All right, we do have a meeting in between now and then if the Township Committee is concerned, but the ordinance does require, even if it's an ongoing program from upper, if it's over 100 participants, it should be reviewed and approved by the Township Committee. The clerk is allowed to approve them if it's 100 or less. So I just want, if you want to have a motion on the floor, you can do that, or we can talk about it at the next meeting and put it on agenda.
Again, it's the same program they've run for the last couple of years, so nothing else is changing.
And the clerk's office does review the requirements in terms of the ordinance, the insurance, and everything else that has to be done. The agreements have to be signed. It's just the final approval. Once a larger event.
I think in an effort to have the tournament chairs, know where it's at, I would suggest that someone make a motion to approve that this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second?
If there's no further discussion, I'd say call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Go ahead, you have something else?
Yeah, one other thing, last week, we had the recycling program, trash program at the schools, and I forgot to report on that. We had Dr. Trash come in and do a presentation. It was a magic show. They used our trash cans as part of their props for the show. They performed at the middle school and also at the elementary school. Unfortunately, I was tied up and couldn't get there myself, but I did talk to Bill McDaniels, who's our recycling coordinator, and he said it was very well received. All the teachers came to him afterwards and asked to please book it again for next year. So that was good news. Some of it was filmed, it'll be on Channel 97 coming up, I'm not sure when.
Okay. Not every day you comment on Dr. Trash. Okay, great. So, Barbara, if you would, on the resolutions?
Okay. Under resolutions, item number 4, congratulating employee Roger Van Order of the Upper Township Department of Public Works for his winning entry in the Upper Township Safety Award Program for the second quarter of 2014.
Move the resolution?
Second.
And let's see, Roger identified a safety problem at, let's see, where was it? One of the playgrounds, Luke Court Playground. So, and this is something that we asked our employees to do, and that based on their submission on safety issues, the best one is picked not by us, but by the safety committee. So, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is
And
carried.
Roger's in the back there with his head down, so congratulations to you, Roger. Thank you.
Item number 3, authorizing a contract with CASA Payroll Services of Pleasantville, New Jersey for payroll services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, and this will memorialize discussions we've had in the past, so would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, accepting the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract with Robert Hoover of Flanders, New Jersey for the furnishing and delivery of one 10-foot bed dump truck in the amount of $1,949,000.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay?
Question on that, before we go to vote. Has somebody reviewed the bid spec and also the contractor's submittal to make sure that we have everything on the submittal that we had in the spec, so we don't get into the same situation we had on that?
I think it's all straightened out, but, we'll find out when he gets here.
Okay. Are you aware of any, have you looked at the specs and the submittals in it?
No.
Okay.
Roy has, so.
Roy did look, our supervisor did look at the specs before they went out to make sure they included everything
Okay.
that he needed. I don't know, he's been on vacation, I don't know whether or not, for sure, he had a chance to review the proposal that came in, but the specs he did approve.
If you tabled it, we'd be well within the timeframe for action. So if you wanted to table it, you'd have to withdraw the
To make sure.
motion second to get your question answered. Generally, John, that is done internally with the departments before it gets to the Township Committee. It should be done, frankly.
Yeah, I believe that Roy did, we seem to be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I know we got into a little bit about the rear loader, and I want to make sure that we don't repeat the event.
We deal with people, so we'll find out when he gets here. As far as I know, yeah, Roy is satisfied with it.
Well, the question is, I'm sure, because Roy just came back today, my answer to you is that you have time, you don't have to act on it tonight. It can be verified and we can bring it to the next meeting.
Might be a good idea, so that way when this item is delivered, it comes in delivered as spec.
Or if there's exceptions, there are exceptions that you're willing to accept.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't have to wait 2 weeks for this up.
But it's your call, whatever you want to do.
That's fine, wait.
So you're withdrawing your motion and moving to table it till the next meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we'll re-agendize that at the next meeting, the resolution, and then if we could, make sure the Township Committee has an opportunity to look at the specs. I mean, from my experience, what we normally would do, would get any variation of what we put out to bid from the specs.
And-
That's normally what comes to Township Committee, not necessarily.
Here's what happens. Whoever reviews them usually contacts my office in purchasing and says, there's a problem here, these are exceptions. That didn't happen here. So the assumption is that the department says it's okay, but nobody in this room can verify that to you right now.
Correct.
Okay, so, so there's a higher comfort level, we'll re-agendize that for the next meeting.
Item number 5, authorizing a shared services agreement with the County of Cape May for funding of the project known as improvements to Amanda's Field.
Okay, someone like to make a motion to approve,
Motion to approve.
Second.
any further discussion?
These shared services, what are they entail?
That's the grant money that we're getting from the county for the improvements at Amanda's Field? This one and the next agenda item are both grant monies from the county.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, authorizing a shared services agreement with the County of Cape May for funding for the project known as the ADAAA upgrades to Bayview Avenue boat ramp.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, this is a discussion we had, and again, this is a grant from the county to allocate funds for this project. So would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, appointing the 2014 Season Beach Patrol personnel.
Yeah, and actually, this is just a very limited amount of, obviously, there's only 3 names on there, and it's basically to start getting things organized for the summer season. So it's Captain Hanley, it's Lieutenant Joe LaRosa, and then a returning guard, Rodney Tice. So these 3 individuals will probably do some minimal work over the next 2 weeks. And then a letter has been sent out to the returning guards to see who's actually coming back. And then from there, we usually go through a hiring process. I'm doing this for our new members. And then we'll have a good number of what will be available for tryouts, which I believe is going to be the second Saturday in June. So, but normally we'll go through 2 or 3 of these resolutions. 1 to get started with, and 2 to get the majority of the people that have answered, and then 3rd one is just for some of the, folks that were away at college and just haven't had a chance to fill out the form. So, if you'd call the roll. Or do we have a motion?
Motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, appointing Michael Pfaff and Devin Morris as part-time seasonal beach sweepers to the Upper Township Public Works
Yeah.
Department.
Well, I have to refrain from voting on this. Devin is my cousin.
Okay.
Aye. Who the resolution is?
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young is abstaining. Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor. Item number 9, authorization for the Township of Upper to make application for a sub-grant for the federal fiscal year 2013 from the Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management Performance Grant Program funding.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And this is something that Scott has, brought forth, and in fact, we may have the potential to get more than what we originally have authorized, so we're hoping to get double that, so. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, Chapter 159 resolution for the insertion of a special item of revenue into the 2014 budget that was not determined at the time of the adoption of the budget. New Jersey State Forestry Services Green Communities Grant in the amount of $3,000.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Paul, this is a part of...
This is part of the green team and to help out with sustainable projects and a lot of marketing information to help get the program out and going.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, Chapter 159, resolution for the insertion of a special item of revenue into the 2014 budget that was not determined at the time of the adoption of the budget for the State of New Jersey Sustainable Jersey Small Grants Program in the amount of $2,000.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay. Anytime we can get money from grants, good for the townships. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, authorizing the release of the remaining cash bond and escrow funds to the Township of Upper in the settlement of the claim against Lexon Company surety bond number 1014147 with respect to Richmond Group LP principal regarding the subdivision known as Seaville Plantation in Block 453, lots 259.19 and 259.07 in the Township of Upper, Cape May County, New Jersey.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And just so I'm clear, we had a settlement.
We settled this. This was a developer that defaulted. There was a bond to finish the road and the project. We made a claim against the bonding company. The bonding company came out, agreed with our estimates of the cost of putting the road in, paid us and settled it. There were also other funds that the developer had posted in addition to the performance bond that the surety provided. There was cash and some inspection fees. Part of that settlement is that the township receives those cash and inspection fees. We've already approved all of that. This is primarily a housekeeping accounting item so that it can be transferred from those escrow funds back into the township's accounts.
And a lot of that was because when we contracted the work out, we were able to do the work less than what the cash settlement was for, so we actually made some money on this project.
We like that.
Yes.
Would you call the,
Another drop in the bucket.
with all that helps, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 13, adopting revisions to the Upper Township Supervisors Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual and Employee Handbook.
Move the resolution.
Second, and this is just some updates to our current employee handbook and
Most of them are recommended changes by the JIF, just for, a lot of them are procedural things that they, as they look at things. And then there was a couple of changes internally that Barb and Rhonda had from a personnel standpoint, some minor changes.
okay.
Those other changes that were not JIF recommended dealt primarily with the handling of cash and fees that are collected by the township and life insurance and some clauses that we wanted to have consistent with the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 14, authorizing the purchase of certain items from the 2013 Capital Improvement Bond Ordinance in the amount of $141,546.69.
What have we done?
This is for not this.
On Exhibit A of the resolution, it's for a GPS system, a Ford 150 4x4 extended cab truck, a Ford 250 4x4 utility body, a Ford 250 4x2 regular cab, and a Ford 450 cab and chassis.
Question on that. Last week, or I'm sorry, the last meeting, we had some discussion about some of the trucks that were going to be taken off of the purchase plan
Yeah,
to help us fund the automated side loader and lower the rear loader. Does anyone know if any of these trucks included in Exhibit A are from that group that we were going to remove? Or we were going to reallocate the funds?
At this time, John, no, I don't, Roy was out 2 weeks ago, I can talk to him.
When
so
I
I'm not sure
spoke-
what it is.
I spoke to Roy today,
Okay.
and he was anticipating that a mini dump, estimated at an $80,000 cost would be the piece of equipment that would not be purchased, so that the automated truck, an additional automated truck could be purchased.
Then I'll-
So
That
that's
mini
not part of
dump-
this group one
That's
exhibit A?
correct, that's
Perfect.
correct.
Is any of these trucks here part of purchasing that truck for the lifeguards?
No, Captain Hanley is still looking into what kind of truck he wants. He's looking at state contract, but I've not heard back from him. I did give him some information, but I've not heard back from him yet on exactly which truck
Well,
would best suit his needs.
there were some criteria that the Township Committee had discussed, namely that we want like a double cab so that we don't have people sitting in the rear of the truck as they're going down to prevent injuries.
Right,
I do know that one of his requests is instead of having a white vehicle, could it potentially have a green or red or something, just because it would be easier for beachgoers to
Right.
see the truck coming versus white on white.
right, and we did talk about all of that. I have just not heard back from him as to which truck would best suit his needs.
Right, well, you know what, we're definitely gonna need to agendize that for the next meeting, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
To be able to purchase that vehicle in time for the first week of June, or whenever they get,
Okay, I'll talk to him again about it.
But in the meantime, could, Barbara, see if, a colored truck is available versus, a white truck, or, I think what he was looking for is potentially a red truck would be ideal, but if that's not available, maybe something that'd be like dark green or blue or something that would stand out.
Okay. Yeah, we did talk about that.
Okay.
So, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't get the motion on that?
I had a motion.
You had the motion on that? Okay. And the second?
Who seconded it?
Second.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion before we move on with the vote? Why don't you call the roll, please?
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes,
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, authorizing the purchasing agent to prepare specifications and solicit bids for one automated refuse collection vehicle.
Second.
Just want to reiterate for some of our newer committee folks, if we authorize and adopt this resolution, authorize and go to the bid, there are only limited circumstances that you can reject the bids and not accept the lowest responsible bidder. So it's not like you're going out and testing the waters, so this is a decision to actually buy the
Well,
truck.
I would personally hope that we have a lower bidder on this time, because they know what we paid for the 2 trucks prior. So I would hope that if somebody wants to get our bid, they will sharpen their pencils better than what we saw the last time.
Yeah, I have no idea how the bids will come in.
Lower, personally.
Yeah, I have no idea how the bids will come in. I'm just, for the newer folks, I just wanted them to realize that this is authorizing the purchasing of the truck essentially. Now, if there are irregularities or they come back with too many exceptions, that's a different story. But generally speaking, you have to accept the lowest responsible bidder.
Dan, we can get something into the specs, if I'm not mistaken, that will allow us to accept the truck that's already on the ground
Yes, you can change the specs.
from a leasing company or, wherever it might be out there.
Yes, you just
Okay.
direct Barbara to make sure that the appropriate language is in the bid specs.
just, we had done that for the dump truck. When we put together the specs for the dump truck, we had put the language in there.
It's a 2013 or newer.
Well, it actually said, I believe,
Not previously titled.
not previously titled. It was a little different language than that, but, we said that we would take, basically, it authorizes a demo truck if it meets our certain,
But I think,
Specifications.
to John's point, if there's a company, a leasing company out there that has a vehicle that has minimal amount of hours on it, minimal amount of mileage, we certainly wouldn't want to walk away from that because we're looking for this as an adjunct to what we already have in place.
Yeah,
So,
whatever you think about, there is one out here that's probably 15,000 cheaper, it's about 15,000 miles on. And the cost, what we getting was a more than that. That's why we don't have a bid.
If I have a recommendation, whether it's one of the committee or if I speak to Roy and get an idea of the limit that you know, mileage and hours not to exceed a certain amount, we can certainly put that in the spec.
And you're going to want to make sure you have the same warranty.
As much the hours are what's critical in a vehicle like that, so I would think you'd want to shoot for less than 3,500 hours.
Okay.
yeah, because if it's being run locally, it's not like you're putting a lot of miles on it, it's just what the daily use is.
Okay. And you don't feel we need to limit the mileage so much as the hours?
That's the hours, yeah.
Okay. Okay, with the same warranty?
Correct.
With the purchase of this vehicle, that's going to free up some of the workforce.
Ain't that?
Well, I'm saying, I mean,
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah, that's-
it seems like we're shorthanded,
We are. Yes,
so.
they will.
Well, I think,
At least two people, at least.
yeah, because we have a lot of outstanding projects that we need to get done. I mean, we've had some, weather issues throughout the winter that's prevented some of the outdoor, work and construction things that needed to be done and accomplished, but now we're in the spring and hopefully the weather will cooperate, and, a lot of things we need to get done, in the next few months, so, hopefully this will help to, be able to collaborate the opportunity to bring these other folks out off the trucks and out and doing other things for us, so. Right, so you need to do a roll call on this, right?
Yes, I do. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 16, accepting the conveyance of real property known as Block 595, lots 20 and 21 on the municipal tax map of the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, the State of New Jersey by gift.
Before you act on this, I want to give you a little background on this request. A number of years ago, we received a request from the owner of the property, which was an executor of the estate, to donate it. They had no more use for it. The Township Committee at the time agreed to that, but there were some conditions in our ordinance, such as it has to have clear title, it has to not be in an environmentally problematic situation. We looked into that, and the condition of the property, I believe Paul confirmed, if I'm not mistaken, that we don't have a problem with it. It's vacant land, and it's
Correct.
probably never utilized, so it's not an environmental issue. However, there was a question as to the title with respect to inheritance taxes. So the file was never completed, and the transaction was never completed because the title company basically raised the issue of inheritance tax, and the attorney for the estate and the executor had said, we're not going to file a tax return with the state of New Jersey because we're now a state, we're not going to go through that expense to clear it. Before I closed my file a month or so ago, I went back to the title company because the property is valued at a very low amount. And I asked them, I said, look, before I close this, are you sure you can't insure over that inheritance tax problem? And they went back and they researched it, and they came back and they said yes. So it's coming back after a number of years with that scenario. Because of the delay, the tax lien for a couple of years was sold to a third-party lien holder. That third-party lien is $227. If you accept this donation, in order to keep this as open space, the Township Committee would have to pay that third-party lien off at $227 approximately. What that does is it preserves it for open space. It means a third-party lien holder, had they foreclosed on it, they wouldn't be able to build on it. It's a very undersized lot. My understanding is in a residential zone. So it's something that we probably wouldn't want a house on to begin with. And obviously, the Township Committee is trying not to have extra houses built because of the tax ramifications of that. So this is a little different than our normal donations because you will have to pay off that couple $100 tax lien, but you will get clear title. I would like direction, if you decide to adopt this resolution, to get the title insurance, which would be another few $100. We're set up to get it. I just need confirmation that that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Would you have an idea what a not-to-exceed figure would be on that title insurance?
I don't think it would be more than $400 or $500, given the value of the land. It's going to be the minimum amount they can insure, which is usually $30,000 or $40,000, which is $300 or $400.
Now,
So-
is there any outstanding back taxes or anything?
That's
like that?
it.
That's
And
it?
the outstanding back taxes would just be absorbed by the township. It's because this third-party lien holder bought the lien to expensively either get paid if somebody buys it out, which the owner's not going to, or they can take the property back. But then we have another tiny undersized lot, privately owned, that has been problematic for development in the past.
And in the future, if, owners that butt to that decide that they want to get together and come to the township committee to deed restrict it, that wouldn't have any bearing on that? Or
No,
would it?
you would be able to sell it to them under those conditions that you're not creating another buildable lot. I do believe Paul looked into it, and we are primarily the adjacent owners.
There's one other adjacent, undersized property that does have an existing house on it that is adjacent to this property.
But it wouldn't create another buildable lot. In this instance,
Oh, yeah.
I think you're stopping it.
I guess what I just want to make sure that if that particular neighbor that abuts to that property comes to the township committee and asks for that additional land, where we could put it back on the tax maps and deed restrict it so we can't build anything, we still have that opportunity to do that.
Yes, that's exactly what I just described, because what that'll do, by paying off the tax lien, there's no lien on it. By getting the title insurance, you're guaranteed you can sell it free and clear to somebody else if they want it. And the only way you've ever done that in my tenure here is if it's kept open space, because you don't want to create more tax liabilities.
Okay. So would someone like to make a motion that we not only pay the outstanding balance, $227, but also give Dan the authority to move forward so that we can get title insurance?
Motion proceed.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 17, under ordinances, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 8, 2014, an ordinance amending revised general ordinance, Chapter 19 of the Code of Upper Township with respect to fees charged for applications for land use approval, and amending Chapter 20 of the Code of Upper Township to clarify the requirements for an affordable single-family home. And if you choose to proceed with this, I would like to hold the public hearing for this on May 27th.
Okay.
Just for the committee's edification, this ordinance from our last meeting has the recommendations for changes of the application fees and escrow fees that were provided to the Township Committee by the Planning Board. It also has in it a clarification of an interpretation that's been given by the zoning officer with respect to undersized lots. And it also adjusts a codification error. They put it when it was adopted previously, that section of zoning ordinance, it was put in the wrong place, it's being put in the right place.
Yeah, one question, and this was, it said planning variance, something new to me. What is a planning variance?
That is, I believe, a variance that deals with abutting an unimproved street, as opposed to a variance. It's a statutory variance, it's not under section 70. It's when your standards don't meet the standards for roads. They call that a planning variance. In the 12 years I represented the zoning board, I think we had 2 of them. They're very rare.
Yeah, we didn't call them planning variances, I remember, I think.
We had litigation on one, I believe, in Ocean City, and that's the nomenclature when you litigated it, it's
Just want
planning
to clarify,
variance.
I was unsure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so just for the public's edification, this is the introduction, so at this time, there will be no public comment, but provided that the motion moves forward, you'll have an opportunity to comment, either written throughout this 30-day period, and then up to a public hearing, which will take place on May 27th. So I'll make a motion that we introduce this ordinance.
Second.
If there's not any other discussion, I would ask you to call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 18, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 9, 2014, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, Chapter 8 of the Code of Upper Township. And the public hearing for this, if you so choose to make it, I'd like to have on May 12th.
This is in reference to our parking.
Yes.
And we brought up next meeting.
Yes, that was passed by the Tuckahoe Fire Company.
Need a motion, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's no discussion, we'll have a motion to introduce, and again, there will be no public comment entertained this evening on it, that you will be able to comment up to May 12th, right? So-
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 19, James and Bria.
I have to step down.
Okay. The record will reflect that Mr. Young is stepping down from this discussion. Item number 19, under new business, James and Brianna Ginn request to purchase easement across township-owned property, block 348, lot 82.25 along Deerfield Trail.
Okay, so I'm interested in some input from both legal and also from engineering standpoint. So who wants to go first?
I can give you a little history on it. This is a different request than a number of years ago for the Township Committee, although it's the same property. A number of years ago, there was a request, I believe, to exchange land and provide a driveway access, similar, I'm not sure if it's in the same spot, but in a similar area, to get access to the same property, I believe. It is, the township land that they would like to utilize is part of a subdivision where the Deerfield Trail is, and it's, that area, I believe that lot is dedicated to recreation, if I'm not mistaken. There was a question as to whether or not there were any title rights because of that subdivision, the way it was filed, in the other lots that are part of Deerfield Trail. What happened years ago is that there was a request of the Township Committee to notify the other people in the subdivision because they may have an interest in it, either from a policy standpoint or from a title standpoint. And apparently, from looking at the minutes from those prior meetings, it looked like the neighbors had significant concerns at that proposal. That proposal was also more complicated because it involved actual fee title, which meant you had to change the subdivision, move property lines, which meant it had to go either to the zoning or planning board to do that, to get the approval to do that. This application is different in that it's asking for an easement over township land to get to the residential development. And as I understand it, we can bring up Mr. Palucci, if he's here, he's here, I think, for the applicant. He can-
We'll do that in a second after I hear from Paul.
Okay. But some of those issues might be the same, but it's a different type of application. An easement would not have to go to the planning and zoning board. Frankly, the title issue, if they were willing to accept it with possibly bad title, the Township Committee could vote to say, we'll give you the easement, but we're not promising other people in the development don't have a right to that. You'll have to get them to sign off if that's your baby, not ours.
Okay.
So that's the issue. I don't know if Paul has anything to add.
Go ahead.
You lost me here on the title rights. If the township were to approve an easement that would not include clear title, are you saying there's a possibility that the residents of that development would have some kind of a lien or a title?
It's possible. I've never done a title search on the property. It was raised years ago when that came up because it's a filed map that dedicates that area as recreation or open space for the rest of the subdivision. When things like that happen, a title searcher or a reviewer could say that the 10, 15 people in that subdivision have an interest in that, and in order to sell off that interest to somebody else, whatever that is, you have to get them to sign off and say, my interest, you can have it, I don't care. Whether or not a title reviewer would say that or not, I don't know. I haven't really looked at the subdivision map. It kind of went away before I think it got to that stage at the last time it came before the board.
But that part of it wouldn't really be our responsibility to ensure that.
We could sell it. It would be an ordinance. We could sell them an easement. It would be an ordinance because it's less than what is needed for development. It would be a sale of an interest in land adjacent to an adjacent owner. But it would, I would draft it saying it's subject to whatever rights the rest of the people in that development have, and we're not going to get a release of those. That's up to you if they feel that they have a right in that land.
Paul, in your eyes, is there any detriment to doing this?
I mean, I think there's some public good. When you look at the planning board history of when they got their, after they left this committee and not being able to kind of get a resolution on exchanging the property, they went to the planning board for a 5-lot subdivision, one commercial lot out front where the existing residents were, and then a little street with 4 residential lots in the back, which putting another street out on that, there's numerous accidents along that area, and to put another street entrance directly in close proximity to Deerfield Trail, that's a safety issue, but, in order to comply with zoning and develop his property, that's what he decided to do. Subsequent to that, he came back and just wasn't feeling comfortable with doing the 5-lot subdivision. He came back to the planning board and came back and applied for this 3-lot subdivision. You can kind of see the 3 lots, the existing lot out front, and then essentially 2 flag lots, each having a drive, one having a driveway on the north side of the existing house, the other sharing a driveway with the existing house on the southerly side of the house. Obviously, that's a little bit safer, but at this point, now you've got, the existing driveway is going to have 2 access points, then you're going to have a new driveway, not more than 50 feet from Deerfield Trail, which obviously is not the best location to have an additional driveway, additional conflict points with people turning. So from a safety standpoint, it would be better to take the traffic, the 2 homes from that location and be able to put them out on Deerfield Trail, coming out at a much better intersection, that's designed, has the proper sight triangles, and, adding those 2 homes to the traffic on Deerfield Trail is not going to impact their traffic whatsoever. That subdivision, past its original subdivision, has had 2 additional subdivisions further back of it, adding homes onto that street, and there's been no change in the level of service or traffic that this road experiences. So adding 2 more additional homes onto that street isn't going to change the traffic characteristics of Deerfield Trail, but it will make it safer for everybody in that neighborhood. It's even going to make it safer for Deerfield Trail people, because instead of them being conflicted by, if they're coming out at the same time, one of these new homeowners are coming out on Route 50, then they're in conflict. If they're all coming out on Deerfield Trail, it's safer for them to come out on Deerfield Trail, then come out, then out to Route 50.
Okay, that makes sense. And if we don't have any further
One
questions,
other thing,
Paul,
we would need, like when we sell adjacent lots, we would need an appraisal to establish a value on that easement. So we would have to, take that, and it would be an ordinance. You'd have to introduce an ordinance that would establish all that and go through that process.
Okay. So before we move forward, I believe Mr. Ginn has representation here, so would you like to come up and address the Township Committee?
Richard Phillips, Revolution on behalf of James and Van again. Basically, Mr. Gaines is interested in obtaining a 30-foot wide easement on the Deerfield Trail across township owned land to develop 2 single-family homes. And I think what has been addressed so far is a pretty reasonable line. It might be a good project. Mr. Gaines is prepared to accept the easement, subject to whatever title issues are there, and he'll take that risk.
Okay. Right, so our task right now is to make a decision whether or not we'll move forward for this, and then some sort of ordinance, you'll draft an ordinance for...
We would have to get an appraisal because we got to have the value in the ordinance, so an appraisal, and usually it's at the cost of the applicant would pay for the appraisal. Township would use their appraiser, and then we'd ask them to provide a value, and then based on that value, we would produce an ordinance for potential action by the Township Committee.
Okay, so from my perspective, based on what Mr. Young said, based on the agreement of the applicant that we may not be able to give we're not going to be able to give it a clean title. It will be subject to whatever the research shows, based on the opportunity to improve or at least make it a better I'm talking pharmacist, a better safety initiative for the residents that are there. I'll make a motion that we move forward with this request.
Second.
Okay. We have a first and a second. Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera? Mayor Cordova?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor. Okay, item
Okay, so
number...
just so, I'm sure you're all aware, but what'll happen now is Dan will have the appraisal, and then Dan will draft an ordinance. We'll have an introduction, as we did tonight with a couple of ordinances. Then there'll be a comment period, there'll be a public hearing opportunity, and then based on the outcome of that, we'll move forward with it.
Would you like Mr. Gann to post some money for payment of the appraisal ahead?
What we usually do is we get an estimate, we explain the appraiser, to the appraiser. We have a professional appraiser appointed annually for issues such as this, because we get a lot of requests for small lots to be incorporated into adjacent property. We would get an estimate from him. It's a little unusual because it's an easement, so we would ask him how much it is. I don't know if you have a conflict around Lubinato, I think is the person in the township that's used it. And then you'll hear from the clerk, who will then say, okay, here's what we need as an escrow for the appraisal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right then. I guess the next issue, you want to move on with the next new business item?
Yes, item number 20, Upper Township Soccer Association and Jersey Premier Soccer Association request use of Amanda's Field for a soccer tournament on July 12th and 13th, 2014.
Just to let the Township Committee know, this is a little unusual in this request, and a determination has to be made as to fees, because when it's our ongoing program, such as the Soccer Association, our ordinance exempts them from the payment of fees. My understanding is this is an outside organization that is a joint applicant, and when outside organizations apply, they're only exempt if they primarily serve Upper Township residents. So I'm not sure what the exact nature of this is. It looks like a rather large tournament. It says over 800 participants. Yeah.
Is this separate from the Endless Summer?
That's why I just asked the clerk prior to the meeting. Barbara told me, yes, it is separate. It's a different thing. Apparently, I haven't done it before.
We have some individuals, maybe could straighten us out a little bit about this. Just for the record, if you come up and state your name and your address, we can move forward with it, so.
Dan Dubs, I'm the president of the Township Soccer Association, 95 Stagecoach Road.
Okay.
I'm Neil Holloway, I'm Jersey Premier Soccer, that's my coaching company, and I've been on the 58 in the Stagecoach.
Okay, so the question that Mr. Young has is, normally, an in-house quote-unquote sport event such as Endless Summer, there will be no fees involved with it because it's a part of the Upper Township program. This appears to be more of a partnership. So I guess what we may be looking for, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, is to what is the value for Upper Township and how is this going to work out?
Well, it's more than that, because we have an ordinance that we have to follow.
Okay.
And the ordinance says if it's an Upper Township organization doing it just for them, like if you just did it as your event and they were not part of the applicant and you just hired them, I have no issue. You don't have to pay the fees. You may want to get recommendation from the Sports and Advisory Committee just to make sure that there aren't any issues they would have because of scheduling or whatever, but that's not an issue. However, when an outside organization applies, fees apply. The ordinance was changed a number of years ago, and what we have here is we have a joint, so to the extent that it's not just Upper, in my interpretation would be fees apply, and to use all fields, that's a lot of money. You have to pay the fees. Now, if you don't want to be the applicant, then we've got to resolve the fees.
Pleasure to meet you all anyway. I've been resident for 3 years now. My organisation is a coaching organisation, and we provide professional coaching services to Upper Township Soccer Association for the past 4 years. And then in 2012, the Endless Summer tournament didn't run, couldn't get it organised. and sold the ad book and done fundraising and everything like that. So, because with the soccer trainers there, I met with the board, we had a discussion about how can we resurrect the end of the summer tournament. So we took on all the responsibility of getting the tournament up and running again, and this past Labour Day, well, we actually moved the tournament from early August to Labour Day before it was the better fit. And then we actually got the tournament up and running again, so the Soccer Association could continue to sell the ad book and do the concession stand and everything like that. So we ran in partnership with, well, we basically were a vendor of a township, a soccer vendor.
If the application is revised and it's just the Upper Township Soccer Association, I don't think there's an issue.
So they could subcontract out to have, coaching, training and all that kind of stuff, because
They still have to comply with ordinance. You have to have coaches certified, you have to have background checks if there are younger kids involved. Well, you have to comply with all that, but the responsibility and the benefit is for these Upper Township Association.
I submitted that as the Upper Township Soccer Association, and I was told I had to include them on the application.
What is the fee?
I think there was a confusion there, I don't think anybody...
Yeah, the confusion on this was, that's a professional business. There was no idea what kind of funds we're talking about, what the percentages they're talking about, if it's a 50-50. Premier Soccer is going to make...
Well, here's the thing, if there's questions to that effect, that's, my suggestion is to have the whole thing reviewed by Sports and Recreation Board, and then they review it, see, and if you're doing this, you have some legal requirements. If you're doing it as a part of a fundraiser for a nonprofit, you have to actually register with the state, and that type of stuff has to be registered. You can't...
Premier Soccer isn't a nonprofit, though, right?
No, but if you're a profit-making entity that raises funds for a nonprofit, there are certain state regulations you have to comply with.
Well, the way the agreement worked, and we got the agreement that we drew up the Labour Day tournament, and we can show Mr. Young that, and we can show you the financial breakdown of the last tournament. So basically, my company took on responsibility of running the tournament, and the revenue we received was from registration only. So the idea is you put on an event, and then the Soccer Association are going to benefit from the concessions and merchandise and things like that. So the actual soccer part of the tournament was, just under $2,500 net to employ all my staff and make the tournament run. The idea is, I'm not doing I run tournaments with other organisations, and I'm not doing this as a money-making thing specifically for this. This is my community, and similar to make a good community thing, like you said about the 4th of July fireworks and the band. So basically, we can bring, 2,700 people to that park, so 675 families, say 4 people a family, 2,700 people, and they can make maybe $5 off 2,000 people. You're talking $10,000 that the Soccer Association can make. So that's the idea of it.
Can I ask what your registration fee would be, though?
Say again?
What would your registration?
Well, on the Labour Day numbers, there was 45 teams participated. 15 teams, which were 11 of the township teams, don't pay any money to enter their own tournament. So we charged 30 teams $400. So we had a gross of $12,000, and by the time you pay your referee fees and your medals and things like that, we ended up with a net of $2,300.
All that's coming out of your program then?
For this upcoming project that you're talking about, what is the registration fee per participant?
well, they're charged by team.
Okay, what is it per team?
Yeah. So it's between, we do try and get an early bird discount between $350 and $650, but some clubs sign up multiple teams, you get a discount. It all shakes out to be about $400 a team. The idea of trying to do the summer tournament is to try and generate a feel within the soccer community that Upper Township is kind of a place to come and bring your teams to play soccer in a tournament environment. So we're trying, the idea is, back in the day, when the tournament had 100 plus teams, we're trying to get some momentum to get it back to that way. If we do get 100 plus teams, and all of a sudden we're talking about $40,000 worth of revenue on the registration, then my company is more than willing to go profit share, pay fees, whatever needs to be done. But we're trying to build some momentum to get back there.
Of that registration fee, what is the split between the Upper Township Soccer Association?
There's none. What they're getting is vendors, they're getting gate for parents that are coming to be spectators. They're getting a fee for that, they're getting all the refreshments that they're selling, so they're getting all the ancillary stuff. The funding, well, soccer gets the revenue based on spectators, costs, and then also for refreshments are being sold. They are, at this point, getting the registration fees and using it towards, referees and trophies and all that kind of stuff. And he has stated his net was, they took in $12,000, his net was $2,500 after all the expenses went through. So, I guess the question is what did Upper Township Soccer realize going through that partnership?
Okay. Last endless summer, we made $30,000, roughly $30,000, might have been 29.
So it's a huge opportunity for the program.
And we made probably another 5,000 selling T-shirts and concession stand. So we made a substantial amount of money. And we've always, that's been where it was. Even when we had 90 teams coming, we might make $5,000 or $6,000 because the more teams you have, the higher your costs are for referees and awards and everything else. So it is, it doesn't.
Well, and I look at this a little bit as almost an advertisement for the township. I mean, we have discussed potentially, we obviously have no desire to have any fees for Upper Township sports-related programs. But by having somebody run the program where we're potentially bringing in other teams, then there may be outside sources there that might say, they have great facilities down there, let's have a tournament down there, and then we begin to realize the potential for getting the money and the fees that we could charge for those teams beyond Upper Townships. So, I think if we can find a way to make this work, I mean, there's a huge benefit for Upper Township sports.
It's real simple. I don't know if the advisory board has any questions on this or not, but bottom line is, under our ordinance, if the soccer association, they can hire whoever they want if they want to run a fundraiser, just like if you wanted to bring the circus in because you wanted to use it as a fundraiser, you can hire the circus to come in and say, I'm hiring the circus, but I'm the applicant, and I'm going to indemnify, and all the money that we make off of this is going to our program. That's the way the application, and I apologize if it got confusing. I didn't even know about the dual applicant until right before the meeting, so I apologize if there's confusion there. But it's real simple.
So we do the application.
If we do the application, it's just a soccer association. I don't know if the advisory board has questions because of the information we got tonight. Do you think it should be run by them or not? I mean, it's up to you.
The advisory board seemed to be pretty open-minded and in favor of this. There was a lot of, indecision and unknown facts. That's the problem. We looked at it as we have an outside business coming in that makes a profit doing this. They should be paying something for the fields to offset the cost of us lining the fields and setting the fields up and all that, if they're making money on it.
Well, here's what's happening. It's just like if I was a football association and I said I want to use Amanda's Field for football carnival as a fundraiser, and I bring in a dunk tank and I bring in a bouncy and I bring in music, I have to pay those people. They're making money, but I'm doing it to raise money. They got a somewhat unique system, but they're doing the same thing.
Again, we just want to get clarification on how it works. I mean, there was numbers flying around all over the place. And somebody told me, they're going to make $20,000.
Well, if there is concern, if there is concern, we can go back to the advisory board and you guys can go sift through that detail and then make a recommendation.
The concern was, the percentages to make sure that soccer is going to get the biggest benefit out of this. I agree, I think it's great for the township to do these things. The concern was having a outside entity, a business coming and utilizing our fields to offset their costs, such as if you had soccer teams that were like professional soccer teams.
But I think this is, based on what we heard tonight, it's different than bringing in outside sourcing, because if he was running it himself with your company and it wasn't associated with Upper Township Soccer, then I think what we're talking about would be absolutely valid. I think the fact that Upper Township really stands to gain a lot more by potentially having somebody that has the expertise to coach and run and organize it, it's an ultimate better moneymaker overall for the program.
At the time, again, we didn't know that you were supplying referees, that you were supplying the awards, all that going ways, and they were the unknowns, that we didn't have it the last week.
Okay, so you're confident that, based on the presentation tonight, you don't have an objection? If they amend the application, we'll bring it back for, do we have time to bring it back for the next meeting?
Can we make an approval
When is it?
subsequent to?
Subject to the amended application? Okay. All right.
What I would like to see is a detailed printout of how many teams registered, where the money was, so that maybe the board can look at it, direct board, to say, all right, if this is the way it's going to be, maybe we need to be charging a certain amount of money for setup fees.
Well, and the size of the event, too.
Right, but right now we have nothing to compare it.
I understand. And that's something we can look at as well, because I believe Barbara's going to have some recommendations on facility fees beyond this for outside organizations.
And again, before we even knew what this
So-
was going
so-
to encompass, I talked to a turf farmer, it's $1,400 a day per field.
To wrap it up, if you wanted to approve it subject to the amendment of the application, so it's an ongoing Upper Township organization, and approve it that way, and then ask for a breakdown of the financial after the event, so you could say, how much did the professional organizers make, how much did the soccer association benefit from this?
I hope this is a success, I'd like to see something like this out there all the time. I mean, you guys look at that. You know, again, it's just the unknown factor was just so
It's a
extreme.
good thing with Township, I mean, this is Township.
I'm glad I could come and tell you who Jersey Graham is up with tonight, and that's it. I'm a resident, I just actually moved my office to Memorial, so the more we can do for this community, I think the better.
Well, that's what we want to hear, and I feel the same way with my semi-pro team. And when I looked at your program, it was almost the same as them hiring me to do a camp, and that's how I was trying to look at this and balance it out, you know.
And we've let organizations do camps, so
Right.
we used to let basketball, baseball camps, and
But again, if part of that camp is going to soccer, I don't have an issue. If they're running the camp and putting all the money in their pockets, then they should be paying.
And that's where you gotta draw a line, and that's the question you're asking.
And that's where I want to see something.
If I was ever to want to rent a field for a private thing for Jersey Graham Soccer, I'd come myself and be like, this is what I'm doing, and these are the reasons why I'm doing it. But to be honest, everything we do with soccer in this township is to do with UTSA, because I've got vested interest, I've got, I just had a
One of the
young child, and they're going to play in the program, and they go out.
One of the things that's flying around is that, you're part of the Northeasterners, and, the money you're gonna make pays their salaries, and so I said that's why I wanted you guys to come in tonight and clarify these issues, so that it's on the record that this is what it is, and it takes away all the questions. I don't think the rec board will have any problem with this whatsoever. We discussed it thoroughly the other night, and the same questions were raised, and now we have our answers.
So do you want to make a motion subject to the proper application process that Dan outlined to move forward with this?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Now, do you want to see if the final financial results of the program after the fact? Is that what you're looking for?
Just so we have something to hear, I would ask Dwayne to maybe log the man hours that it takes to set the fields up and line them, and do it, so we have an idea where we are going down the road here. Somebody was to come in, that's a private entity. Right now, we have nothing that we can look at to
So that's
say,
part of that.
our cost is $400 a field, or $200 a field, or $1,000 a field. I think this will help give us.
Okay, so, but as part of the approval, we're not going to, we'll do the man hours on the side, and that's a good suggestion. But for the approval, it will be subject to filling out the proper application form, and then we can move forward, provided everyone votes in favor, or not everyone, but we have a majority of votes. But then we can use what what the soccer association has gotten as an outcome from this, and the amount of people and teams that are involved, and we can balance that versus the man hours that it takes to line the fields and everything, and then...
Essentially, it's an income and expense. You provide an income and expense for the entire project, all of your activities and all of your activities, and provide it to the township.
Again, not for something that's sanctioned by the township, but if you want to come in and just run something on your own, a tournament without soccer, our fees have to be escalated quite substantially, I think, from where we are right now.
So we able to amend the application now, basically cross out those.
Tomorrow, have somebody say the question. Yeah.
Let's do it right. All right, so we have a first and we have a second. If there's no other discussion, would you call the roll then?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Good luck with the tournament.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 21, request by Deputy Attorney General for correspondence waiving appraisals for municipal beach easements.
What we're looking for here, I received a call a couple weeks ago from the Deputy Attorney General's office, and we had given some beach easements on township-owned land, and what they asked for was a confirmation that we were not going to require, we've already given them to them, that we wouldn't require an appraisal of those easements. It's some type of internal requirement between the DEP and the Army Corps. It's really non-consequential to us because the bottom line is if we don't have an easement to allow the Army Corps and the DEP and ourselves then we don't get the sand. My recommendation is I just need a motion second and an approval to send that correspondence back to the DEP saying, yes, we don't require you to give us an appraisal for those beach easements.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, let's see.
One other item I'd like to bring up under new business. When Hobie and I were running for these positions, one of the things that we talked about was looking into term limits for committee people. In order to do that, what would be required? And I think probably what I'm looking to do is make a motion to authorize Mr. Young to look into what changes would need to be made to our form of committee government in order to impose these term limits.
I will tell you that, I'll do the research, but I'll tell you, without doing the research, I suspect it has to be a state statute, because a state statute defines any form of government, what the elected officials' requirements for office are, and what the limitations on office are.
Okay.
I don't know of any town, again, I haven't done the research, I'll be glad to do it, but I suspect that without a change in state law, you can't institute your own term limits. Now, that's not to say you can't say, I'm not going to run again, and you can't, but it's kind of like the Constitution, where people call for term limits in Congress. Well, Congress can't pass a law saying our terms are limited. It would have to be the Constitution changing it. And that's what I'd have to find out. Again, I have not researched it, but I suspect that that's the answer.
Now, even if that were something that would be available under a different type of form of government, for example, mayor and council as opposed to committee or, whatever.
I can look into it, but I suspect every form of government defines how the governing body and the mayor is elected, and if it doesn't have term limits in there, in my opinion, if a municipality said, and we're going to tack on to that state law, our local requirement that you can't have served more than 2 terms, again, I'll research it, but I suspect that could be challenged. It's called, the state has taken over that realm of government, okay? They preempted the ability of a municipality to supplement the state law. One of the examples we ran into was the sex offender within 1,000 feet of a school. We had passed an ordinance on that.
We tried to make it stricter.
And we made it less strict than some other towns did, but more strict than the state law.
Right.
And if the Township Committee recalls, those that were here, I cautioned them that I didn't think it would survive a challenge, because I didn't, for the very reasons I'm talking about now. It's the state has taken over that area, and it's the state's prerogative to change that and regulate that, not the municipality. And that's exactly what happened. It went to the courts for not ours, but ones that were more severe than ours, and they all were thrown out. And the state law controls. So, John, I'll look into it. If the township committee wants me to come back and report, I'll be glad to do that. I think it's important, you know.
We should do that.
Okay, I'll be glad to give you an answer.
Ask for that.
Give us a chance to answer something that we, did.
I understand.
Discussed and.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want you to rely on just without researching it. I think it needs to be researched.
Well, I'm not going down here to see the rivets or whatever.
And that doesn't mean you couldn't call for other towns and the state legislature to change it if it ends up that way, which is, sometimes that's what we do. We tell them we want.
We'll have about 15 years in before that happens.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to ask you to go forward?
I would probably like
Based on our-
it would be well, I didn't hear from all the township committee members. Does anyone have any objection to me researching that?
I have no objection to you looking into it, on how it will affect me down the line, but
Direction, that's all.
it'll probably be the only one that really affects at this point anyway, so.
I think if it passed, I don't think it would affect you as far as your years you have in. It would be from that point on, I would imagine.
Well, let's see what,
But then you'd be 70, so it's all right.
no, don't worry about that. Okay, so there's a motion. John, are you making that motion? He'll be seconding it?
Yes.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated in full in the minutes of this meeting.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is
There
carried.
are two reports for the municipal departments, municipal court, and certificate of determination of award issue of special emergency note. Those two reports will be available tomorrow at the request of the clerk's office, but in the meantime, I make a motion to accept those reports.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
So at this time, we have come to the public comment session, and we'll open it up to the public to see if anyone would like to address the township committee. It doesn't appear at this time that anyone wants to address the township committee, so at this time, because there's no one coming forward, we'll close the public comment session and entertain a motion to go into close or executive session, and I'll call on Mr. Coggins to read the motion.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Matters are contract negotiation for J. Paul Bainbridge Associates, for a cell tower leasing consultant, litigation for Upper Township versus Sansone and Yank, litigation for tax lien foreclosure, personnel matters, and safety and security matters. I also included in my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when the formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for the confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all for attending this evening. We appreciate it. Hopefully you have a safe drive home and a great week. One announcement I guess I should have made is there has been some OEM weather reports suggesting that we're going to get substantial amount of rain and potential for some moderate, from minor to moderate flooding based on the moon and tide structure, so be aware of that.